Okay, so what we're going to look at now is how we can put in a health bar. So first of all, we need to think about how we're actually going to have health taken away. So I'm going to go over here to the campfire and show you a bit of what we're doing. So first of all, we have it collide with the fire, just like it did before, just like it does to turn the fire on. But then we're also going to have this take damage thing in here, where we look at the health of our sort of first person character, so our third person character here, so we can see we've got a health variable set up that is set up as a float and set to a value of 1, and then it's basically going to take away 0.25, so a quarter of that health, and then print the string out so we can see it actually happening, and then it's going to get the health again when we collide with it again to see, okay, where is our health out, and then take another quarter off of it. So the aim of this is to make sure that every time we enter, it takes a new quarter off of what the new health is. And then it's going to check to see if our character is dead. If they are dead, it's going to play the dead function. If they're not dead, then it's just going to make it so that it can't actually move forward from there. So the point of this is to make it sure that we're not continually losing even more health once we're already dead, but that it's just there enough so that we know when our character's finished and they start the game again. So, first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about that function that's there. So let me just go back, go to event graph. So we had a whole thing here last lesson that was this. So that was set body to simulate physics, create the game over widget, add it to viewport, set mouse, and disable that. So how did it get here? Well, let's see if I can bring it back. Yes. So basically this is what we had before. So what I've done is I've just box selected the whole thing, right clicked and gone collapse to function. And what that does is it just basically turns it all into this. And then I can take that function and then just call that function whatever I want to call it. In this case I call it dead. So that if I have this when I press G, it goes to dead. But also if I go to campfire, I can also borrow from the third person character there and set that as well. And it just means that I don't have to keep setting up create widget, add to viewpoint for every single hazard that's in the level, because that will get tiring after a while. But yeah, we'll just sort of set this up. So again, I know that some people might not have this, so I'm actually going to open up a new level and just start from scratch, just so people don't think, oh, but I don't have that, so where do I get that from and everything. So first things first, going to create my health bar. So basically I've got my character here and I'm going to actually set up a health for them. So to do that, I'm going to first go to my third person blueprint. I'm going to get rid of these and that, and then I'm just going to create them here. So basically so far we've looked at, putting in blueprints, creating components. This here is the variables. This is how we create variables like health, stamina, and all those things. I do it by clicking on here, so plus variable, and I come down here and I'm going to call it health. By default, it's a Boolean. Booleans are used for true and false statements. We don't really use that for when we're talking with health because it's an amount of things that we're slowly taking away. So I'm going to use float. So float is basically like decimals, and I definitely want to use decimals because I'm working with percentages here. If I wanted to use like integers, that'd be for whole numbers, and we'll look at them a little bit later, but just for now, we're going to go with float. I'm going to leave it at 1, not 100, but just 1. So that's there, that's the health. That is all taken care of. So now I'm going to go and create a hazard in here that's actually going to take away said health. So I'm going to go to blueprints, create blueprint, actor, going to call this hazard. Going to just simply put in a light, so point light, red, so it's like that. So if I bring that in the level, point light, bring that up, there it is, I can see it. I'm going to add in a box collision because I want my character to be able to collide with this, and lights don't typically have collision on them. So going to make that a little bit bigger just so I can definitely go inside of it. Go compile, and there's my hazard. So now I'm going to go to my event graph, and just like I did with the campfire and the light, I'm just going to begin overlap event, cast to third person character, go into other actor, and then I'm just going to go here to print string. So print string is used for debugging. Basically what's going to happen is in the top left hand corner I'm going to see a little purple sort of text here, or blue text that will basically say hello when it goes into there. So I go here, I go in, and there it is, hidden behind the Shift F1 for mouse cursor, but there you go. So it just says hello. I don't want it to say hello though. I want it to say my health. So I'm going to go down here, and because I've already created health, if I search for it, I can see here, get health. And then I'm just going to plug it into here, into a string. So it's going to convert that from a float number to a string, which is a word. So if I go here, play, there it is, and it's telling me that my health is 1. So that's good. But obviously this is a hazard, so I want it to take that health off. So what I'm instead going to do is now look at what I can do with data. So we've looked at how we can collect data and get it, but now we want to look at how we can manipulate it. So because this is a number, I can do any other math equations with it. So I can actually tell it to subtract a float. So I can go here and I can go float minus float. And there it is, and it's a function. So we go down here and we just simply go here to health. So I'm going to take that health and then minus 0.25 from it, because again, keeping in mind I want to take a quarter off. 0.25 is a quarter of 1, so it's then going to go into there. So what I want to do is I want this to collide with here, and then I want to actually set this health. So this is about getting it, and this, if I type in here set health, and I make sure context sensitive is off because it's not connected to that, I can now actually set that health to anything. So I could have, for example, just been like, okay, I want to set the health to say 0.5 for this character. So let's just do that. So health is 1. I'm just going to wait for that to disappear, and then I walk into it, and now it's 0. So it's actually sort of changed that health and set it to not 1 but 0.5. It actually went further than that and went to 0 because it's printing this string, so I need it to actually go into there. I was wondering why that was happening. So that's basically going to print out this string now. So when I go into it, it's going to say, right, half the health. So wait for that Shift F1 mouse to disappear, and now it says 0.5. Problem is though, if I walk back into it, it also says 0.5. So it's not actually hurting me any more than its initial sort of set to half health. So that's not really going to work. So what we're going to do instead is take the health that already is minus 0.25 and plug it into there. And so now every time I enter into this hazard, it's going to slowly take 1 off until eventually it's 0, and then it's going to go into minus and then minus and then minus. So we'll figure that out later, but we just want to get that working there. So now I basically have, under the hood, a working health system, because basically it's just going to take away that health, but we can't see it as the player. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to now create a widget for our HUD. So I'm going to go right down here, go user interface, call this one HUD, and open this one up. So far we've looked at texts and buttons. What we're going to look at now is a slider, basically, or not a slider, but a progress bar. So we're just going to have that in the top right hand corner here, sorry. We're going to have fill capacity. Here you can see percent is at 0, but as I slide this across, it goes up and down. And the cool thing about it is right next to it, it says bind, which means I can actually bind this percentage to anything, including our health. So I can go here to bind, create binding, and then I can just simply plug in our health to here. So I can say get health, uncheck that, go third person, get health, and plug that in. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have a target, but I can get our player, switch on context sensitive, get player character, like that, which is our third person because it's a one from that. So when we character, it'll be get player. Nope. Why is that not taking that? That needs to take that. So we may have to cast it to third person. I really didn't want to, but here we are. Cast the third person character. That will go to there, and then here, get player character. Okay, it's a bit messier than I would have wanted it to, but still, same principle. We're casting to our third person character, we're getting the player character here, getting the health and putting it into there. Go compile, so that now will move into there. So he's going to start off as full because it'll be 1, and then it will take it down to say 75, and then again, and then finish. So I'm going to go compile, and now we need to make sure that that HUD is added to this player. So I'm going to go to open level blueprint. So level blueprint is basically attached to this level we've created. So we're going to use it just for creating this HUD. So we're going to go create widget, just like we did before. So instead of being triggered by the ragdoll, it's going to be triggered by the start of the level. Going to go down here to get player controller. Going to go HUD, and then we're just going to add to viewport because we're not going to set mouse cursor to true or anything else because we don't want to click on our health bar. We just want to be able to see what's going on at all times, so we know what our player's health is. So let's go in here. We press play, and as you can see in the top right hand corner now, I have that HUD. Now, unfortunately, I've pressed a button that's just killed me. But now as I walk in here, you can see it's still got print string on there, but as I walk in, it basically just takes off a bit of health. Okay, so, I mean, that's the main crux of what I wanted to do here. So if you can get to that point, that's awesome, because that just teaches you and finishes off nicely what we're doing with the HUD and the widgets in the Unreal Engine. But if you want to stick around, I'm going to look at how we can make it so that the character, once it reaches 0, then dies. And that's really quite simple. We just simply go to our third person character, and we just need to now go to this. So we can see here that health is being taken every time we enter into there. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when you enter into it for the last time, it's going to actually, sort of once your health reaches 0, it then sets you into ragdoll or goes into death. So what I'm going to do here is get rid of that print screen because we don't need it anymore. And we're going to say, right, if the health is reached 0, don't do it anymore. And this is where we talk about Booleans. So I'm going to go into here and go branch. So branch basically checks if a condition is true, and if it is true, it'll keep going forwards. So I'm actually going to set that to false because I want it to be, the condition I want to be is if your character is dead, then don't do this anymore. So if the condition is true and you are dead, then I want it to go to playing the death function that we set up before, which should be out of here. Dead function. So that should basically play if the character is true. If they're not dead, then they'll keep taking health off of it. So now we need to actually set up a condition to see whether your character is dead or not. So when it enters in here, it's going to check to see if that condition is true and then exit out there. The way it's going to do that is we're going to first get health. Oops. And then we're going to see if it is float less than or equal to another float. In this case, 0. And if it is less than 0 or equal to 0, that means that character is dead. And so if it's true, they'll play the ragdoll game over screen, everything will come up. And if it's false, then it will just keep taking health off of it. So if we go compile, now we're in here, go into it once, it's fine, go into it twice, 3 times, and 4th, and there we are. So once you're at 0 health, if you get hit again, you go into the game over screen and then play. And then it obviously goes back to this screen here because I've got a different level set up. But that is essentially setting up a health bar and what that is all about there. So to go over that again, you first want to set up a hazard that's going to take health away. You want to make sure that you have a float established there and it's set to 1. You then want to set up a HUD that's got a progress bar and then bind that progress bar to the third person character and their health. Okay, so again, this is a lot, and if you have to watch this a few times to get it right, that's fine. I'm going to be floating around the classroom just to help people get up to speed with this one. It is a bit of a tricky one. There are probably better and smoother ways of doing it, but this is just a way that follows on from everything else we've learned so far to get things happening, okay? So I'm going to stop this one here and then go around and help people. We still might look at doing a main menu depending on if we have time, just so we can finish off this unit. So you can have a game that you start a menu, loads up your level, you avoid hazards or hit them, and then game over and start again, okay? So anyway, catch you again next time.